I've talked about a lot of bad people on this channel. And for you guys that have watched, you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. Or I've talked a lot of bad about ICE supporters, ICE themselves, Trump, and that guy who cut DEI funding. Shout out that guy, fuck him. But the worst of them all coming up right in this video. And at least worst from what we know is a confirmed fact, because some of those people I've listed before are involved in a big controversy where they don't want to release the files for anything. Not shouting anybody out for that one, but if you guys know, you know what I'm talking about. But this guy's files, he posted himself, bro. And that's right. I'm going to go ahead and talk about the EDP documentary. And for you guys who haven't seen it, I don't even know if I'd recommend watching it. This guy is like actually evil. And some of the stuff that he was talking about genuinely made me sick. Like, I'm not even joking. There's like some quotes in the video that I could not believe with my own like ears I was hearing. Like my jaw was literally left open. And normally I'm not stun locked like that. Like usually I have a reaction and be like, wow, that's crazy. But I couldn't even fathom what I was hearing. But for you guys who want to learn about the video and hear my take on it, here's what I got to say. I'm your host, Seb, and if you guys enjoyed this video, please leave a like and comment down below. What are your thoughts on the documentary? I mean, I hope your thoughts are that the documentary was really well done, but that this guy needs to go to jail, because that should be the all-around consensus. I don't know anybody who has had a different opinion, and if you do, kind of weird, bro. Can't lie. But with that out of the way, like all I gotta say, man, is the EDP documentary is crazy. And for you guys who don't know, I'm gonna go ahead and jump into spoilers. And so if you guys haven't seen it, again, I don't know if I'd recommend watching it. It's a really well put together documentary and it's very explicit. So just be warned, it's NSFW, but go give it a watch and see the work that Mike put together. I think Mike is his name. Okay, just confirmed it. It is Mike. Mike Clum is the guy who put the documentary together. But basically, he's put together another documentary before with Boogie 2 something, where he followed him around. It was a famous YouTuber from the early 2000s, early 2010s, who was one of the OGs, is what he called himself. I didn't really know much about the guy, honestly, but he ended up putting a documentary together, and that one was really well done. And it's really sad because I guess Boogie was involved in some scandals, and hasn't really been a great guy to be around. Like, he's really sad, really depressed, and just, I don't know. But that's a little bit off topic. That was a really well done documentary. And so because of that, it got a lot of hype for this EDP documentary. And I remember when I first heard about it, I thought it was kind of funny because, everybody knows the cupcake meme with EDP, or at least I hope you do, where if you guys don't know, back in like, I want to say around COVID times, this guy EDP blew up just because he was kind of funny. He had a couple of clips that went viral, and even now people still use him as memes, but mostly to like make fun of him just because he's kind of a loser, especially because he ended up, going to meet some underage people, which is a very big no-no, EDP, in case you didn't know. Well, no, you did know. But anyways, he was caught not once, but twice talking to underage people, and it was bad. It was a really bad look. And I mean, for anybody, it'd probably be a really bad look. I don't know when it would be a good look. But to get straight to the point, he ended up agreeing to this documentary with Mike Clum. And in it, Mike Clum just kind of asked him about the whole underage grooming thing that he was doing and like what he's doing now in his life. It was split up into different parts about like the before the incident, the next incident, and then post incident. And I don't know. It's so weird, like following him around, because with certain people, you can never tell if like that's always how they were and they just were never given the moment. But he was kind of an incel, and that ended up driving him to decide he needed to do some crazy stuff with an underage person. And I can't believe the thought process behind it. And most people will say to you that whenever people get caught, it's usually not the first time that they've done it. Like that's what Jadon and Skeet Hansen, they always say that on their YouTube channels about like most of the time people who get caught is not the first time that they've done it. It's just the first time they've been caught. And so for EDP, I don't know. We can speculate all day long. I guess nothing has been confirmed that he ever talked to anybody else before that. But he was caught by one of the pred catchers named Alex Rosen, who I used to really like, but he was caught in a controversy with Chud the Builder, I think is his name was. a racist guy who antagonizes black people, or colored people, I should say. And he ended up going to jail because he killed somebody. Whole altercation, but Alex decided to support that type of guy. And so just not a cool dude anymore, in my opinion, even though the stuff that he's doing is great. Like, I can't support someone like that. But anyways, the big reason why they were involved in the documentary is because it was actually shining a light on how bad some of these online pred catchers are. And it was really kind of a shame because that first catch never really got like a bunch of publicity. Like, I remember hearing about it, but I never saw the actual video for it. And so during this documentary, like, that was the first time I ever got a glance of it. And it was really bad because the guy straight up, like, his video recorder, they went to go meet EDP, and they set up a sting operation, but he kind of like chickened out and they jumped him before he could get to the place. And Alex was just, talking to him, trying to like lure him in. And his video guy was just like, oh, I don't fist bump people like you, which I'm like, dude, I mean, I wouldn't either, but you don't got to say it like that. Like, your whole job is to try and get this guy, get some information out of him, talk to him, and see if you can, get him into custody. And just from the whole thing, just watching the video, like, it was so botched. And the worst part about it is how they started the investigation, just because when these pred catchers do their thing, like, the biggest thing is that the other person has to reach out to the decoy or to the actual miner first. And this is where they fucked up with Alex's investigation. And even though they had a bunch of evidence, showing that EDP elicited a lot of stuff, they couldn't end up persecuting it just because they DM'd them first. And a lot of DAs are really weird about this stuff. Like, they don't like taking these soliciting of underage people to trial just because they think that they're going to lose, or I don't know, they're worried more about getting wins and, having like a higher win percentage. But this isn't like a ranked lobby in a game. I don't understand why they don't want to take these things to trial, which is a whole separate video for something else. But for you guys, I would say make sure that whenever voting season comes around, you vote for DAs that care about keeping your guys' community safe and not just trying to get a good win ratio, because that shit like that doesn't matter. But back to the point, they ended up botching this investigation. They tried to turn it into the police. The police didn't want to take it, which really sucks. And nothing ever came out of it. And the only thing that ever really happened from that first investigation is that he turned into a meme with the cupcake thing, because he was asked about like, oh, what are you doing here? He said, oh, I'm just here to get a cupcake. Like, bro, we know you're not there for just a cupcake, bro. Like, and so that ended up turning into a meme. And then he ended up, losing a lot of fame, losing a lot of subscribers. People don't fuck with him no more. But nothing ever came out of it legally. And so a year later, he ended up messaging another girl named Kayla. And she was actually like a real person that ended up trying to get into contact with Gideon and Skeet Hansen about, hey, EDP's messaging me and I'm underage. Can you guys do something about it? And now both of them made claims back and forth about it. I'm not here to really discuss that. I'm just here more about like saying what ended up happening in terms of that. And so they tried to do something with that new information with Kayla. But the way that the story goes is that she ended up getting messaged by EDP, and they tried to act on that information by doing a sting op with him, but he ended up getting cold feet and not going to it. And so then they went to go find EDP and go talk to him about the conversation, to which he just went inside of a building and didn't solicit any of that conversation. And now this is where it gets a little bit interesting, because Mike Clum actually got the OG Chris Hansen to come and talk to EDP. And afterwards, he reviewed the video of Ski and Gideon doing this investigation. And I thought it was really interesting here because he calls them amateurish, and he says that he wouldn't do a partnership with them because they end up doing this all for clout and money. To which Ski ended up replying and saying that's kind of hypocritical. And I kind of have to agree a little bit, because, I mean, Chris Hansen, you did a show, bro. Like, you're telling me you weren't getting paid for that? And like, again, bro, I'm sure that the main intention for them is to try and put these people away. But it's also nice that it's, lucrative and they're able to make a career out of it. And like, you can say what you want about it, but at the end of the day, they're still doing the job. And so like, whether or not their intentions are completely for just pred catching, whatever, they're still doing a good job of it, or they're doing a job of it. I guess the good part is debatable. But here, I just thought it was like a little bit interesting. And, EDP ended up having the conversation with Chris about what he ended up being there to do and stuff. And I know that he cut out a lot of it just probably because it got really explicit, maybe, or maybe some of the responses were just like really agitated. But I couldn't believe that EDP was answering some of the questions that he got asked. And even in terms of like the whole documentary, like the whole time, everybody who's had like big discussion about it is like, why would he agree to do this? And he even got a lawyer, Mike Clum got a lawyer for the documentary to be like, hey, what would you tell EDP if, you know, he was your client? He'd be like, I tell him to drop this documentary. Like, what the fuck is he doing? And I guess the cool part about him making this documentary is the fact that people are saying that now it's shining a big light on the situation, and there's still time for them to act on it and do something in the legal system, because I think the statute of limitations expires in 2027. And so hopefully there's a case that gets reignited, reopened because of this investigation and the popularity of the documentary. Maybe something ends up getting done. Who knows? But EDP agreeing to do this, answering Chris Hansen's questions, I just thought was insane. But outside of that, outside of just the main documentary part of it, now I really want to highlight how bad of a person EDP is, and just by some of the things that he said, because I think these are questions that are like open. They're not open for debate, but like open for discussion, to be like, okay, like why would you ask that? You know, or like what are we doing here? And the first one that I really want to talk about is how he said, he was asked by Mike Clum, like, oh, I mean, would you do something with Kayla if she was of age or something? And EDP was like, oh, fuck yeah, I would. And I don't know, he said some other shit. And look, man, if you're gonna put this guy in jail, like, this is the clip that you need to show. Because for him to say that, and he started saying some weird stuff about her, and like, mind you, the Kayla that he knew was underage. I think right now she's of age. I think she's 18 or 19, but the Kayla that he was talking about was not that age. And so for him to say this stuff, it's like, okay, this is really bad, you know, and I can't believe police did nothing about this. And another thing I've heard from watching some of these pred catches that EDP ended up saying is like, oh, why did the kids get to go scot-free? Like, they messaged me first, they sent me stuff, they did yada, yada, yada. And to that I say, like, we understand that they're kids, right? When you're a kid, you know, your brain isn't fully developed. And this is something that he made a comment about, saying like, oh, that was bullshit, and how like they're still making their own choices. But that's not really true, you know? Like, kids don't have enough cognitive brain development to like plan ahead and think about the consequences of stuff, or think about like how bad situations they're in. They're not developed like that. And, you know, I'm not a psychology major. I'm not like a therapist or anything. But what I can say is that if a child suffers abuse and they end up developing a little bit differently, like, you can fault them for what they did, but the root cause wasn't ever really because, like, it wasn't their choice, you know, like, or like why they ended up getting to that point wasn't their choice. After that, you know, whatever. But when it comes to stuff like this, I just don't understand how it could ever be the kid's fault. Like, you're 40 years old and you're messaging a minor. Like, there's just like, come on, guys, help me out here. Like, there's just no defending that. And then the last thing that he said that I really wanted to talk about is how he asked the question, like, what's so special about 18? You know, like, they're not any different. Like, if she was 17 and 364 days, like the next day she's 18, like, it's not any different than when she was now, but all of a sudden, like, everything's okay. And to that, I still say, like, no, it's not. Like, if you're 40 years old and you're talking to an 18-year-old, you're still mad weird. You're still super creepy, and you should probably be investigated, because at the end of the day, like, they're still a kid. Honestly, I think the age of consent should probably be raised up to 21, because that's when, you know, you're allowed to drink. That's when you're allowed to do bars and all that fun stuff. And so I guess I don't understand, like, if we're saying 21 is when you're cognitively developed enough to drink alcohol, that's probably also when you're able to start giving consent. And anything before that, like, it's just mad weird. Even at 21, it's still super weird if you're like 50 years old. Shout out Leonardo DiCaprio. But I don't know, man. And so some of these things that were said in the documentary, and I know that some people have also said it whenever they're in this EDP situation, it's just mind-boggling to me. Like, I don't understand why everybody's always got to play like the victim card and say like, oh, well, they should be punished too. Like, bro, EDP, you literally got off scot-free. Why are we asking for punishment, bro? You ain't never seen a day in jail. Like, you should be behind bars, and you're talking about, oh, she should be punished too. Like, we're actually delusional here. But I think that's all I gotta say, guys, you know, and it really sucks because normally at this point of the video, I'll say, but I don't know, that's just my take, yada, 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 yada. But I really hope that this is what everybody else's take is. Maybe someone's got a little bit more formulated, well put together words, you know, but I just don't understand this documentary, the things that EDP has said. People like him have said some of the same things. Like, we're just horrible people just to be horrible people. And what was very, very, very interesting, what I will say, is that at the very end, Mike Clum ended up getting like a real pedophile, and they put a difference on the spin of the word, because a lot of people like to use the word interchangeably, but they said there's a difference between like being a pedophile and like is it I hope I don't get demonetized. Well, I'm not even monetized, but I hope I don't get flagged for using this word. But molesting, I think, is what it is. Because being a pedophile is like being attracted to kids, and he ended up interviewing someone who like is a real pedophile. But he's like, yeah, I've never done anything with them. I'm just attracted to them, and you know, it's something that I can't help. But like, I know that all that stuff's wrong. Like, you don't do stuff to kids. And I mean, I thought that was really interesting that he got like a real person to be like, yeah, like what EDP is doing like is crazy. And he's like, he's probably not even attracted to them. He probably just likes the power dynamic and knowing that he has like full control over someone who you know, can't understand the scope of the situation. And I thought that was really interesting for him to add at the very end. I don't really know how I feel about it, because in one sense I'm like, yeah, like I guess you can be attracted if you don't do anything. Like, I don't know. It's still a little bit weird to me. But if you're not going to do anything to nobody, like, I guess it's fine. Versus what EDP is doing and what all these other weirdos have done. It's like, yeah, you guys got to be off the streets and locked away in a special place of hell. But that's all I got. That's enough yap for me today. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys went ahead and saw the EDP video before this, or if you're going to go see it afterwards, feel free to let me know what you guys thought about it in the comments. Thank you to Mike Clum for putting this together, and hopefully we get some justice out of this. But that's all I got. You guys have a good one.